Browns 37, Jets 20. The playoffs are a reality, Cleveland fans, as the Browns lock up at least the 5 seed in the AFC playoff picture. Chance to still obviously become that number 1 seed. And I think that's part of the equation when we talk about this next topic of conversation, Anthony, which is how far can this Browns team really go on a playoff run? I think if you had told me, and I think if you had told a lot of Browns fans that a team dealing with the number of injuries they've been dealing with, Deshaun Watson, Jack Conklin, Nick Chubb, the list goes on, and you told me on December 28th, I guess December 29th now when we're recording this, they would be 11-5 and in the playoffs. I think most fans would have thought you're crazy. It's not going to happen. There's just no way. And for them to be in this position is obviously great in its own right. But now reality starts to set in, and you start to wonder how far can this team really go as they continue to ride sort of this Joe Flacco wave.
Yeah, no. So this group for me, man, it comes down to a couple things, and it's funny when you said that. It's like, hey, what is this team? Would you be surprised hearing that Joe Flacco's coming? I think back to what Kevin Stefanski said a couple nights ago, and he was like, "It's the NFL. It's a totally unpredictable league, and anything can happen." And because of that, I do truly believe that, this team can make a run. And I'm trying to look at it from an objective perspective, right? Obviously, we've been covering the Browns. We're Browns fans in that respect. And it's like, hey, can this team actually make a run? And really, when you look at the playoffs, it's quarterbacks, run game, and defense. Like those are what it is. Those are what drive teams. And when you look at where do the Browns check the boxes? Well, your quarterback is a Super Bowl MVP in the past, right? It was a decade ago. He's playing good football right now, but more importantly, he's done it before. He's gone on long playoff runs, and done it the way that he's going to need to do it in this one, right? Where you rely on the defense to make plays, and we got to fix the turnover problem. And you got to be careful with the football. And then the other thing is the run game. We saw it come back to life tonight. The last couple weeks have been tough. We've been playing 3 or 4 really, really good run defenses, and they've really stifled the Browns. But tonight you saw it against a below average run defense, and it was great. Rushed for 127 yards. And more importantly, Spence, you controlled the clock, and you were able to just bleed the game out towards the end. But in the first half, you were able to make big runs to kind of extend drives. So I think if you have those 3 things, you have the ability to make a run. And honestly, the Browns have those. They have the ingredients to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, barring any other major injuries, which, I think all of Cleveland is crossing their fingers, doing any kind of superstitions they have to try to make sure that doesn't happen the rest of the way. But barring any more significant injuries, because you have this elite defense, and they say, defense travels is supposed to be the thing, right? And I understand there was a stretch there. Browns defense wasn't playing so well on the road. They looked better against the Texans last weekend, which I know the Texans obviously struggled in that game. They didn't have C.J. Stroud, so better quarterback play. Maybe it's a different situation. But I think the defense being what it is and being as dominant as it is, and knowing that unit on any given day can just shut a team down completely gives you a chance. I think the point to what you said about Joe Flacco and the way that he's playing right now gives you a chance. I mean, when you get to the playoffs, it comes down to really those 2 things. Do you have a defense? Your defense doesn't even have to be like the Browns defense has been elite this year. You don't even have to be the best defense in football when you get to the playoffs. You just have to be a defense that is opportunistic. Like if you're getting turnovers, are they turning those into points? Are you scoring off of them immediately on the defensive side of the ball? Are you holding teams to field goals rather than touchdowns? I always say red zone and third down are 2 of the biggest key things I look at in a box score every single week to tell me like how good a team did or didn't do, or how good a defense is or isn't. Because nowadays you're going to give up the chunk plays sort of in the middle of the field. You're going to give up a lot of yardage. It's just kind of the nature of the NFL. But are you stopping teams from punching it in for 6? I think is huge. And so I think if you ride that and Joe Flacco continues playing at the level that he's playing at, why can't this team make a run? I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not going to sit here and guarantee, hey, they're going to chase the Lombardi, sign them up. They're going to be in Las Vegas in February. I'm not going to say that here today. But if you told me, given everything that we've seen this season, if you told me that this team was going to go to the Super Bowl, if somebody came from the future and right now next to me jumped on this video and said the Browns are going to be playing in the Super Bowl, I wouldn't doubt it. I'd be like, okay, I could see that happening.
And there's certainly a path, and you look around the AFC, right? Everyone in the playoffs, the potential one seed, if the playoffs started today, the one seed we beat on their home turf. It was a month and a half ago, but we've done it, right? We have the only
Yeah.
one. The only team left in the AFC where I think the Browns wouldn't be favorites against, and well, there's probably two, and it's probably the Dolphins and the Bills outside of the Ravens. So you look at that and you're like, okay, you're not gonna have to play all three of them. Take care of business.
But the thing with the Bills though too is assuming things hold where they're at. Now the Bills still have a chance to win the division, but if things held where they were at, the Bills would be coming to you if you had to play the Bills in the playoffs because you'd finish ahead of them.
It's a great point, and that goes for either the Miami or Buffalo. Whoever has to come to Cleveland potentially, whoever would be that sixth seed, that I think you're a favorite against them, right? So then you're only not a favorite against two teams, and we know what that means, right? It means nothing. The favorites mean nothing. We watched it all year. We watched this Browns team be underdogs all season long and just find different and unique ways to win. There's no reason that they can't string together a couple wins and find themselves playing for an AFC championship game. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe another larger point here is just the AFC has felt wide open all season, and I think that's very much the case going into the playoffs. Like, yeah, the Ravens, they looked really good against the 49ers the other night. Don't get it twisted. I'm not trying to say that team's not good and they don't deserve a lot of the praise. I think they finally showed their true potential in that game on Christmas Day. But the Browns have beaten them. And we know that they're still susceptible to blowing fourth quarter leads and all these different things. Like, the Browns have beaten them. The Browns have beaten the Jaguars. The Browns have beaten Houston, who's in the playoff picture. There's some teams around them that they faced and they have taken care of. And I think at this point, they've earned the right to prove us wrong, essentially. Like, they've earned the right to go out and prove that they can't win those games before we have to sit here and say like they can't absolutely they definitely can't do it. So yeah, I think that between the two key things that the Browns have kind of considered strengths right now, their defense and Joe Flacco and the way the offense has played in the passing game lately, and just the outlook of the AFC, why can't this team make a deep playoff run?
It feels like the team of destiny. And tomorrow, when we wake up, well, I guess today, when we wake up in a couple hours, the national narrative is going to change around this group. And this is a team that other teams aren't going to want to see, to be frankly honest with you. This offense is clicking. The defense is very, very good. And they're going to be a tough out, whether they have to go to Miami or whether they have to go to Jacksonville or Houston or Indy, wherever they got to go. No team's going to want to face the Cleveland Browns on the other side of the football. And it's because of what they're able to do.
I think you're 100% right. We mentioned the other team I don't think teams want to face in the Buffalo Bills. I truly believe like the two teams that the top seeds in the AFC won't want to see will be the Bills and the Browns. 100%. Those are not teams that you want to show up at your building because from the Bills standpoint, maybe they had a little bit of a down year this year, but that offense can put up numbers on you. From the Browns standpoint, they're calloused, man. They've been through so much. Do you really want to face a team that's seen that much adversity and overcome it all? They're just a tough group. And that's a scary prospect for anybody who sees them in the playoffs.
And it feels like to me, Spence, and correct me if you think differently, but it feels like the Browns can play with nothing to lose. And it feels like that's kind of what they're doing right now. It's like, screw it. We don't have any of our starting players. Like, we're all beat up. We're all this. We're all that. Why not? Why not just like let the ball roll and let Joe Flacco throw it 45 times for 390 yards and 4 picks and 4 touchdowns? Like, who cares? Like, let's just go and try to win football games and scratch and claw and punch and fight until we do so. Like, it's a good place to be when you're on that side of the coin.
On some level, it does feel like they're kind of playing with house money, especially when you consider all the injuries they've had this year and they're still in this position. It's going to be interesting to see what is in store for this team beyond Week 18. We still have some time to get there, but obviously I know Cleveland, you're enjoying this win at the moment, and you're soaking it all in, celebrating the Browns clinching a playoff berth as you rightly should, and we'll be able to talk about what lies ahead for this Browns and the Browns in the playoffs in the coming days and weeks right here on the Browns Digest YouTube page, and of course, as always, over at BrownsDigest.com.